Hey everybody, welcome back to the second video. This has actually been a really hard video to make. I don't even know where to start with this video. I had an intro and a script and everything put together. So before I get started, I want to say that the target audience for this video is people who are interested in playing Pokemon competitively and have never done it, and this is just my experience for the last couple months trying it out and participating in my first Grand Challenge tournament. If you're looking to get better at VGC, I don't really have any tips for you. I'm still learning myself, but this is definitely for somebody who wants just a really new person's perspective on everything. I've been playing Pokemon my entire life. I'm 27, 28, so I played this tournament in Masters Division, but I've never done anything competitive with Pokemon. I just pick the ones I like and kind of roll with it. And when I go over the tournament and kind of how it all went down, you'll see that I kind of stuck with that philosophy of using what I wanted to, using what I liked and what I felt comfortable with this first time going through. But that's where I want to start. I actually want to start at the end of the tournament, because when I originally envisioned this video and how I was going to make it, I was going to kind of go through the tournament match by match and talk to you guys about it. Well, there isn't much to talk about. I did really bad. I mean, I did terrible, actually. I went 2-13 on Friday, and I decided not to do the Saturday, Sunday days. And after almost 3 hours of just taking losses, I kind of had to sit back and decide if I was going to keep doing this or not. This has been probably like an 8-month to a year idea, in a solid 4 to 6 of actually working on teams and everything like that in Pokemon Scarlet Violet. So when the dust settled, and I kind of just let it all out, processed it, looked back on how I did, kind of took some notes on what I wanted, how my team did for the video, I realized, man, I still had so much fun. This was a blast to do, even just getting destroyed every fucking game. I mean, the first 3 I got absolutely steamrolled. It was kind of embarrassing, and I almost tilted off the edge there after match 3, but I was like, nah. If I can play 15 in a day, I'm going to do my 15 matches at least, and I'm going to see what I can learn from it. And that's kind of how I'm approaching now this video. I'm going to tell you guys what I learned from it and how I'm going to keep moving forward. And I'm going to spoil the end of the video here. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing Pokemon VGC. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this. And hopefully, if I make another tournament video, I'll get to show you guys some improvement from this tournament. So I was really just I was happy at the end of the day that I had taken even 2 of the 15 games. But I want to start with what went really well and what was fun about it. And we'll get into what went wrong and kind of how I'm going to change it up. Not even just tournament-wise, team-wise, just my whole mindset approaching this. Because my mindset was, I'm going to compete in these big tournaments, and I wanted to go to Pittsburgh, but I'm not doing that, obviously. I'm clearly not ready for that. I gotta start smaller, and I'll get to how I'm starting smaller and everything like that. But what went well and what made it the most fun was truly just being back in a competitive mindset. I grew up playing soccer and basketball. I'm sure this is going to be a weird cut, but whatever. And I've really missed the feeling of competition. I never played sports past high school, but I'm still I play Rainbow Six Siege ranked a lot with my friends. It's not hardcore competition, but it scratches that itch for me. I wanted something more though. So I guess it didn't scratch the itch completely. Oh well, this is a train of thought video. I'm just gonna keep going. I loved every second of how serious everybody was taking this. I mean, you could tell, even though it was an online tournament, that every person I went up against, minus a handful, knew what they were doing, knew how to do it, and executed it probably damn near to perfection for what they were planning on doing. And I felt a little underprepared for it, but that was kind of the fun. I was learning as I was just getting beat up. And I realized after looking back on some of the matches, and I recorded, and I'm sure you guys will see the B-roll behind me here as I edited this video together, I was really happy and comfortable with how I ended up playing towards the end of the tournament. And just Pokemon's a chess match where you got to predict what they might do, they got to predict what you might do, and you got to hope that you don't counter each other. and that you pick the right counter and you pick the right play at the right time and the right switch. And by the end of it, even though I thought my team was lacking in a lot, and I'll get into that, player-wise, I was feeling pretty good, honestly, and that's what kind of kept me into it, even though I was still losing. I was making games competitive. I was going, 10 to 11 turns, bringing people down to their last Pokemon, really making them work for these wins. I wasn't... The first couple matches where I was a pushover, I don't even think I knocked out a first Pokemon until my 4th match, which is pretty embarrassing considering there's 4 Pokemon that you need to knock out to win, and I couldn't even get one. But I'm not gonna give you guys a true breakdown of it. It's just how I felt about it. I'm not good enough to tell you like, hey, I used Protect here. I should have used it here. I've done this. I've done that. I'm learning that, and that's kind of part of this process, and it's really fun. But yeah, I was able to squeak out a couple wins, and I stayed competitive because I was able to do the predicting, and I was able to know what moves were coming at me and how to deal with them the best way I could with the Pokemon I had. And unfortunately, that's really where the good ends. Because even though I was feeling good in my moves and my predictions, my team was unfortunately just not prepared to take on really any of the common teams that were used in Regulation H. I should say, when I originally started trying for competitive Pokemon, I was working on Regulation I, and when they changed to Regulation H, I wasn't able to use Paradox Pokemon anymore in these tournaments, which hurt me because my Fluttermane is like my best Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet competitively. She's the best, and not being able to use her in this really challenged me to come up with something else. And once again, I'll get to that. My team building and everything. You saw the team when I showed my final standings, but I'll get into my thought process of it too. That's where it all went wrong though. I think I have gotten a grasp of how to actually play in the matches and what to do when I'm in them. My team building is going to need a lot of work, and I've got a lot to learn, and that's where we're going next. That's where everything kind of collapsed, and that's where everything kind of went wrong. I want to talk about my philosophy of building it and what I decided to do. So I mentioned that when I started, I was on Regulation I, and I found my ace in Fluttermane, and I built basically my entire team around her. Then when the GC came around, it was like, hey, everybody, tournaments are actually going to Regulation H. And I was like, I don't know what Regulation H is. There was no legendaries, there was no Paradox Pokemon. And I was like, oh, no legendaries, I'll deal with this. I'm so sick of playing against Calyrex, Shadow Rider, and that fuck-ass horse. I hate him. I was so excited for no legendaries. Little did I know that Sneasler was going to be my next big nemesis. I didn't even play against a Sneasler in my Pokemon Showdown practices of Regulation H. It was the first 3 teams I faced going into the tournament. I was blindsided, and I had nothing for it. But when I came around to Regulation H, I was going to start from scratch building my team. And like I mentioned earlier, I play Pokemon by using the ones I like. So I was like, well, I've never done this regulation before. I've spent a little bit of time in another regulation on the ranked ladder. Let me just kind of go with Pokemon that I like, Pokemon that I'm comfortable with. I know what they can and cannot do for the most part. And I'm just going to kind of have to roll with it. And I went through a couple different iterations of this team, but what it eventually turned into was Rillaboom, Blaziken, Amoonguss, Gengar, Tyranitar, and Dragonite. And most of you who are experienced VGC players, if you're even still watching at this point, probably know that that's not a great team. I didn't really have a build in mind when I was making them, but this is what I felt comfortable using. And when I was practicing on Pokemon Showdown, they were doing pretty well. I was winning most of the matches I had on Pokemon Showdown. I took them into some casual battles in Scarlet and Violet. People were definitely trying out their Regulation H teams. And it was going okay, so I thought I actually had something here. What I soon realized was maybe like if I was a more experienced competitive Pokemon player and not just a playthrough like Andy, maybe I could make this team work. I think there's potential in it, but unfortunately they just didn't end up gelling in the tournament the way I thought they were going to gel after practicing with them. Like I said, I didn't see a single Sneasler combo until the tournament, and that Sneasler dog walked my team. Rillaboom and Tyranitar felt redundant. They kind of felt like they were just their role. You can only take the 4 of them, so you know I tended to feel dumb when I was taking both of them into a match and not leaving one of them on my bench. Well, I probably just didn't need both of them, so that's kind of what I've determined with that. And Tyranitar is way more of a favorite to me. I absolutely love Tyranitar. This is my personal Tyranitar. He's staying on the team. So Rillaboom, unfortunately, is out. Blaziken, my first ever starter, felt more than ready to blaze kick some people with, was my super fast ace, and I made a huge mistake taking Choice Band off of him. I practiced with Choice Band a little bit, and I liked the results, but I didn't like the fact that I could only use one move. So I decided to switch to Muscle Band and take that 0.4 damage away from him, and I think that was a mistake, because even though he was quick, he wasn't one-shotting things, so I either needed him to have a Focus Sash, which would have guaranteed him basically to always go first, or I needed the Focus Band to make sure that when he did get to go first, he was going to one-shot it. Unfortunately, I think that was user error, but Blaziken wasn't strong enough, I don't think. He is a good counter for Incineroar because of close combat, but if you take a Choice Band or a Choice Scarf, then that's all he's going to be able to use, and I don't know if he's necessarily worth that option then at that point. When he did go up against fast matchups, he wasn't also fast enough to hang with Dragapult with Tailwind, even if he had Tailwind. So, unfortunately, Blaziken, as fun as he is to use, did not feel good enough. He felt too mediocre for me as a player to be able to rely on him, and I also had a lot of trouble keeping him alive. I think that was where I need to learn where to use Protect and everything a little bit better and in my switches, but Blaziken didn't do as much as I was hoping he was going to do, and perform as well as he did when I was practicing with him. My Dragonite, I think I completely underutilized. I almost used him more as a support Pokemon to solo set up Tailwind for Blaziken, and I didn't abuse loaded dice with Scale Shot as much as I should have. I think it would have been better to use him more as an offensive setter and sweeper than a Tailwind setup and support Pokemon, because his extreme speed, even terrestrialized into normal typing, was just not doing enough even to knock out some of the Pokemon at the end. I needed more damage output out of him, and I just wasn't happy with him running Tailwind. So I'm definitely getting rid of Tailwind on him. He's sticking around. I love Gengar. That's not Gengar. I love Dragonite. He, I think, is going to stick around in my Regulation H team. I just need to utilize him a little bit better. Who's next? Gengar. Gengar felt like he didn't fill any role well enough. I don't know if I EV trained my Gengar wrong. I don't have his spreads right in front of me at the moment, so I couldn't tell you. But he just did not feel like he fit any single role. I was expecting to go against more Gimmighouls, I believe is how you pronounce that gold guy's name. I was hoping that between Blaziken and Gengar, I'd have a pretty good time dealing with a Steel Ghost type outside of Tera typings. I was pretty prepared, I felt, for him. Not a lot of people used him against me. I ended up going against the Sneaslers more, and unfortunately Gengar just felt... The only time Gengar worked was going against a tanky Pokemon and using Destiny Bond to take him out, but if the Destiny Bond didn't work, Gengar basically got hit, threw a Shadow Ball with his Focus Sash, and got hit again and went out. They usually were pretty good about being ready for that Destiny Bond. Yeah, he's off the team straight up. Amoonguss was really my only consistent Pokemon, and unfortunately Pollen Puff is not going to win games for me. I'm going to keep him on my Regulation H team, though. I like him a lot as a support Pokemon. I think I've utilized him as well as he can be utilized, so I think I need to play around him better or use better sweepers with him because he's already such a good support Pokemon. I think him and Tyranitar synergize pretty well the way I use them. I want to see if I can get to use him with Dragonite a little bit better as well. So that's kind of how the team went together. I didn't like how a lot of them went together. So I'm sticking with 3 of them, and I'm getting rid of 3 of them. Rillaboom, Blaziken, and Gengar are out, and I'm going to keep Tyranitar, Dragonite, Amoonguss, and I'm going to test out some other Pokemon, which I'll get to in a couple minutes here. Now, this is how I'm going to kind of change my mindset and how I'm going to just change everything surrounding Pokemon VGC in my life. And this might be a better way to approach things if you're a new player like I am. When you really didn't know what I was doing, and I just kind of flung in there and wanted to try and see what happened. And, well, unfortunately, 2 and 13 happened. So first, I'm going to hopefully find some smaller local tournaments to find good competition to practice against, because Pokemon Showdown is good enough, I think, but I still want more. I want people who I know are going to be in tournaments and are just not playing Pokemon Showdown to play Pokemon Showdown. I can't imagine why you're playing Regulation H Pokemon Showdown if you're not trying to build a tournament team, but even still, I don't feel like I got enough of exposure to real tournament play in Pokemon Showdown as a practice, so I'd actually rather do local tournaments. I live in Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't seem to have as many local tournaments. I've checked out the Pokemon Play app, and there's like one close to me. We're definitely a TCG city and a Magic the Gathering city, though. We've got plenty of shops for those. Shout out to the Geek Peak. They're like my personal favorite one for that. I just started building a TCG deck. They've been fantastic in teaching me how to do that as well. The second is my team building. I've already told you guys that I've decided to keep Amoonguss, Tyranitar, and Dragonite. That's going to be my Regulation H team base. I want to build around. I've started trying out others like Faraffarig, Whimsicott, and Volcarona and Clodsire. I haven't settled on anybody except for Volcarona for sure. Volcarona was in my playthrough of Scarlet and Violet. I know he's EV trained right, and I used him in my Regulation I team before I really knew what Regulation I was. I just kind of took my team in there just to see what it was about. And even against legendaries and restricted Pokemon, my Volcarona held his own. So I think putting him in there over Blaziken is definitely the better fire option, and I probably should have thought of that first. I struggled a lot with match coverages, especially against fighting types like that Sneasler. Fighting Poison really screwed me up. So that's where I'm going to choose to focus on. I want to build a team where I don't necessarily have like perfect favorable matches or matchups, but I want to have a better coverage of matchups. I don't want to look at my team and be like, oh, well, no matter who I picked for this match, I was never going to be able to deal with this one Pokemon. Because that's basically what happened every time I went up against a Sneasler. I didn't have anything to deal with Fairy types. I didn't have anything to deal with Fire types. My move sets were just not ready, and my Pokemon weren't good enough. So that's unfortunate. I got to re-EV train a couple of them to get them where I want them. But that's my focus, is coverage and EV training. And I want to make the team better that way. And lastly, too, I want to start working on other regulation teams just to get more experience in the competitive scene. Regulation J is currently in the ranked ladders until January on Scarlet and Violet, so I'm going to probably put together a team for that specifically. And I already know it's going to be built around Fluttermane and probably Koraidon and Brute Bonnet, because I am a huge Paradox Pokemon fan, especially of the ancient ones from Scarlet. I absolutely adore them. I want to try and learn as much as I can for this. I don't know if it'll help me necessarily in Regulation H if I do another tournament between now and January, because Regulation H is staying until January as well for tournaments. So I'm going to probably practice more with that team with no restricteds, no Paradox, straight just fun Pokemon like my Tyranitar. And I'm going to focus there, but I don't want to be a one-trick. So I'm going to also try and play the ranked ladder a little bit more, get more experience going that way. And hopefully, as I kind of wrap this up, because I've been rambling now for like 20 minutes, I don't even know if this is going to be a good video. I'll be honest with you guys. But hopefully if I ever make another tournament video like I mentioned, I hope I can like share improved results with everybody. I hope the next time I sit down to make a Pokemon video that has to do with VGC and not a couple of the other Pokemon video ideas I have in mind, I'll be able to tell you guys like, hey, this was my first one, this isn't my new one, and I'll be able to be like, hey, I improved. Like maybe I go 3-12 next time. Maybe I go 4-11. We'll see. I'm hoping maybe I can get into some local tournaments and maybe even win some local tournaments. I don't know how. I've never met another VGC player in Cleveland, so I'm gonna kind of start wrapping this up here, and I hope that if any of you have ever wanted to try Pokemon competitively, you've made it this far into my rambling video and enjoyed whatever I've edited this into, because God only knows. My perspective is definitely novice, but I want to make sure I get the point across that I had a lot of fun with this experiment, and I'm talking about the whole thing, from training all my Pokemon to building my teams out to actually doing the competing. Even though I lost and I'm still learning a lot, it was just so much fun, and like I cannot recommend trying this if you love Pokemon as much as I do. It is more than worth the time investment if you already love the series and you already have an idea that you want to try. The community over on Twitter is actually shockingly positive for VGC, at least from my interactions with it. I've even had text conversations in Pokemon Showdown with really nice people working on their teams for tournaments while I work on mine. The community definitely seems, in my experience, pretty positive, in a pretty safe place too, just to be yourself. This also goes for what limited interaction I've had in the TCG community now, and I can't recommend it enough. If you want to try this is definitely something worth trying. Pokemon will always hold a special place in my heart, and this has been a new way for me personally to experience it and spend time with it. Like I said earlier, I've started working on a TCG deck as well. I'm going to try figuring out how to work a Raging Bolt deck. I don't know if it's going to work out, but we're going to give it a shot. Maybe I'll talk about that sometime, but I'm doing this a little bit more casually. I just want an excuse to get out of the house and enjoy the local shop at my place. So if you've enjoyed this, it's probably a little bit different than my Battlefield video that I put out 2 weeks ago. Give me a subscribe, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, whatever you guys want to do. I appreciate all the support. And I'll probably just see you guys in the next video. I don't really have much else to say on the tournament. It was a good time, and I'll see you guys later.